is a Tuesday. It is championship rings, as Josh would say. We are skipping all the bells and whistles because this may be the greatest episode of championship rings ever. Welcome, and I'm Brandon Lewis, the host of Brandon's World. He is Ungar to the Max, the host of the Sports Room Talk Show. What exactly happened over the weekend to Sheduer Sanders, Mr. Ungar?
Better question. What the heck are the Cleveland Browns doing? Oh, we're going to draft a quarterback in the third round, Dylan Gabriel. Oh, we're going to come back and draft another quarterback in the fifth round. Huh? But in terms of Sheduer Sanders, Fitz, I don't care what you say. This has Jimmy Haslam's name written all over it. I mean, you saw when they cut to Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, they did not look exciting and high-fiving each other and hugging and all that. They just kind of sat there like this.
It was the most saddest war room. I've seen some bad war rooms. You can tell when teams don't necessarily love their picks. That was we were forced into this pick.
Yep. By the one and only Jerry Jones of the AFC, Jimmy Haslam. I don't care. I am not holding back on this. He is the Jerry Jones of the AFC.
Our friend Grandizer, the Browns are showing how to properly tank before camp even begins. Listen, I'll get into the Browns more when we do our NFL draft winners and losers. I want to talk about specifically about Sheduer Sanders real quick.
Yes.
So, Josh, in last week's mock draft right here on Championship Rings, you, along with when we published it on Voltage Live last week, you had predicted Sheduer Sanders to go number 2 overall to the Cleveland Browns. And by the way, you were not the only one very high on Sheduer Sanders. A very particular ESPN analyst who we all know was raving and ranting about Sheduer Sanders for 3 days. Sheduer Sanders, though, by the mock consensus, was anywhere from number 2, like you had said, to potentially number 9 to the Saints, to potentially number 21 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When the Steelers did not take him and went with a defensive tackle out of Oregon, of all places, at Derek Armand at number 21 overall, then you started looking, okay, is anybody going to get him? And by the way, the Giants moved up ahead of Pittsburgh and took that bum, in my opinion, known as Jackson Dart from Ole Miss.
No, they didn't move in front of Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh was at 21, and they came in and traded in at number 25.
Oh, you're right. Okay, my apologies for that. So they go in, they get Jackson Dart. Okay, second round comes about. Because of the trade, which we're going to talk about, the Browns move down 3 spots. They get the extra second-round pick from Jacksonville. They take the linebacker out of UCLA and Swevenger, and then they take Quinyon Junkins, the running back out of Ohio State. And at that point, you're sitting there going, okay, something's fishy. Then New Orleans takes the Shiloh kid, the white quarterback out of Louisville, who a lot of people have compared to the next Brandon Wheaton. And you're going, okay, Sheduer is probably going to drop to the third round. Then Saturday, all the reports came out, and it all makes sense. I'm sorry for those of you in the media like Stephen A. Smith who are out here saying Sheduer Sanders was blackballed, and this was about race. No, it wasn't. If it was about race, Cam Ward would have not been the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It was about race. Jalen Milroe would have not gone before Sheduer Sanders. This was not about race at all. This was about that Sheduer Sanders.
Furthermore, I know it happened a few seasons ago, but if this was about race, I don't think Jalen Hurts would have gone in the second round to the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I know that draft was in the past, but it still applies here.
Good point.
But to piggyback off what you were saying, I think this has everything to do with the media hyping him up and the fact that, oh, wait, who's his dad? Oh, that's right. Pro Football Hall of Famer, one of the greatest defensive backs in NFL history.
Dare I say the greatest? I think you can easily make that argument. He was the most impactful defensive back of all time in Deion Sanders. He won those back-to-back Super Bowl championships, obviously, with San Francisco and Dallas, as we know. And he famously went out and didn't go to every interview because he was so talented. Deion did overhype Sheduer, but Sheduer Sanders made a critical mistake. And this is what came out Saturday morning, that he bombed, and I mean completely bombed, the interview with the New York Giants. Apparently, he showed up late to the interview. He was cocky to Brian Daboll. And there was a moment where, when these teams are at the combine and they get their one-on-one meetings with these players, oftentimes for quarterbacks, I guess Albert Breer had this in an article for Sports Illustrated. What the teams and the coaches will do is they'll give a player a playbook. They'll tell them, study the playbook. They come back the next day and they will purposely make a small error in a play name or a play design or something in a play that a smart quarterback will be able to tell that study the playbook. Oh, okay, that's not correct. Okay, what's wrong about this play that we're showing you? Sheduer Sanders apparently did not get what was incorrect on the play that Brian Daboll showed him. And when Brian Daboll called him out about it, Sheduer Sanders had the biggest attitude of all time about it. And that made rounds throughout the league. And he was treating himself like this all-world franchise game-changing quarterback, the way Mel Kiper Jr. put him up on a pedestal.
Oh, my God. That was so annoying all weekend.
So there was that. When in reality, and Josh, so in reality, like even guys like you who thought he was number 2 overall, if you take a guy number 2 overall, you believe he's this all-world quarterback. Maybe not as good as Cam Ward, but pretty good up there. I add about a late first-round grade on him. But the league viewed him as a backup quarterback, and when you are a backup quarterback, who do you think about when you think about the typical great backup quarterbacks in this league? Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, Alex Smith, Chase Daniel, veteran guys who really, Matt Moore, remember him for a long time, back and forth.
You gotta put Kirk Cousins in that discussion now.
Yeah. Guys who are veterans, but who work hard, who are good in the room, who are good mentors. Not a guy like a Cam Newton or a Russell Wilson. That's been the whole concern about Russell Wilson, is where he's going to go because of his brand. He can't be a backup quarterback. That, to me, is the same thing with Sheduer Sanders, which is why he dropped all the way to the 5th round, and why Jimmy Haslam, I 1,000% agree with you. I don't care what anybody says. Jimmy Haslam said, you know what? We're in the 5th round. And you know what makes, to me, even more convincing that it was Jimmy Haslam who made that pick that nobody else is talking about? That was not the Browns' original draft spot that they were drafting it. They moved up ahead of my Philadelphia Eagles 1 spot, because the interesting report out there that Rapid Sheet had on day 3 of the draft was if he was available, there was a possibility my Eagles could draft him. Whether it was a smoke screen or not, I don't know what the Browns believed it, but they moved ahead of us 15 spots to grab the guy. And yeah.
And they traded up with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I know Seattle had just drafted Jalen Milroe, but I don't think it's a coincidence that they traded up with Seattle. I just want to put that out there. I'm not suggesting.
Why do you say that? Why Seattle? I'm interested. Do you think that they would have done what the Browns did, take 2 quarterbacks?
Possibly, yeah. I do. I think there's a possibility Seattle might have done it. So
here's my issue with the taking. My issue is not with taking 2 quarterbacks. My dad always said, rest in peace, his soul. He always said his draft philosophy was draft 8 quarterbacks until you find one. We got to find a freaking quarterback. The issue is, if you flip the 2 picks, I would have been okay with it. Dylan Gabriel is not a 3rd-round quarterback.
Yes,
he
but
stinks.
Here's the thing. When they drafted Dylan Gabriel, you could actually when you looked at the war room, you actually saw like excitement. Like they actually wanted Dylan Gabriel. Do I agree with you that he's not a third round quarterback? Yes. But again, when they showed the war room, like Andrew Berry, you could tell was excited about it. Kevin Stefanski, you could tell was excited about it. There was not that same reaction when they drafted Sheduer. And here's what I will say. Did I especially love Sheduer? No. But again, the reason I had him going number 2 in our mock draft last week and the one we put out on Voltage Live is because that's the Browns' history. They drafted Johnny Manziel. They drafted Baker Mayfield. Again, I get it. Sheduer does not have the same off-the-field issues that those two had.
You know what? I actually am going to state back on my original case because I think he has more Johnny Manziel in him than I originally realized. I did. The only thing I liked about Sheduer the whole weekend is when he was asked about Jeff Albrecht's kid, leaking out that he was the one that fake called him and prank called him. By the way, this happens to way more people. What happened to Cooper DeJean last year? No one cares about it. They only care about it because it's Sheduer Sanders. Sheduer Sanders. I'm Mel Kiper. I talk about Sheduer Sanders 3 days straight. But anyway, the way he responded to that, and he basically said, hey, listen, every kid makes a mistake. No big deal. He could have very easily said, that kid's a punk. Go F himself. It was not right. All he said was, kids make mistakes. That I like. And I think somebody did get in his ear. Not Thursday night, but I thought Friday night going into Saturday morning, somebody got in his ear and said, Sheduer, be on your best behavior today.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there was a chance he was going to go undrafted. Somebody was going to take him.
The crazy thing is, this may be a little thing, and I think it did turn some teams off because it did turn me off. The legendary thing. You call yourself a legend before you even get into the NFL. It's wrong. NFL Hall of Famers talk about this all the time. I don't know if you know this, Josh. I only know it because Shannon Sharp talked about it once or twice before when he was on TV on Undisputed. The day before the NFL Hall of Fame, there is a luncheon where the new Hall of Famers sit in and they listen to speeches by current NFL Hall of Famers. Those Hall of Famers going into the Hall of Fame that year are not allowed to say a word during that luncheon. They are to sit, they are to listen to fellow NFL Hall of Famers talk about how lucky they are, the 0.1%, however much it is, to be in the NFL Hall of Fame, because the NFL is a brotherhood. The NFL is different. And if you disrespect that by calling yourself a legend before you even into this league, I do think that turns some teams away from Sheduer.
So I'm assuming, I don't know if we'll get into this, but did you hear that Abdul Carter tried to get Lawrence
Taylor's number, and Lawrence Taylor told him basically piss off.
Yes. And I heard that, and I'm like, Lawrence Taylor is arguably the greatest defensive player in the history of the NFL.
Again, at his position, he's certainly number one. You can make a case. The two guys we were talking about earlier, Deion and Lawrence, are the two best defensive players in the history of the sport.
I know we're talking about Sheduer Sanders, but for Abdul Carter to have the audacity to even ask, like, can I wear number?
Again, it does relate. The difference is Abdul Carter is so productive, nobody cares. Sheduer Sanders, this is the thing that everybody missed. I'm sorry, Mel Kiper Jr. I'm sorry, Skip Bayless, the two people that love Sheduer Sanders. He was not a good NFL quarterback. And I don't care what you say about he was running for his life at Colorado. Yes, he was. But you know what? He went 13-12 at Colorado in that terrible conference and was 4-8 year one. He was not that great of a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't get why Colorado retired his jersey. That
And
was
that was the other thing. They retired not only his jersey, but Travis Hunter's jersey.
which
And
Travis Hunter, I believe, deserves that after what he did, winning Heisman Trophy as both a wide receiver and cornerback, and he won countless awards. I was okay with Travis Hunter getting his jersey retired at Colorado.
I agree with you. I don't know about right away. I think it's pretty insane. You get your jersey retired the minute, and you're not even in the NFL yet. But regardless, the Sheduer thing, something's off about it.
Yeah. And it totally makes sense that the Browns drafted him because they don't seem to care. Hell, they traded for a quarterback who had a bunch of allegations against him. And what did they do? Oh, here's a fully guaranteed contract. Oh, you have off the field issues? Okay, we're going to draft you number one overall.
They're very ever since Andrew Berry taken over as GM, Andrew Berry is very, you mentioned Jimmy Haslam and Jerry Jones. Andrew Berry in that regard is very Jerry Jones. Like, remember Perion Winfrey, the defensive tackle who got into all those issues and didn't work out? Like, the Browns do take chances in the Berry era on people with character issues.
That part is true. Like, if we drafted, to go back to the whole Abdul Carter, like Sheduer conversation we were just having, it would be like if we drafted a left tackle and they went up and said, hey, Joe Thomas, can I wear number 73? Dude, you haven't done anything in the NFL yet.
But the difference is again, the consensus is that Abdul Carter is going to be a very good player. At worst, he's going to be a multi-time Pro Bowler. But I still think it was wrong for him for one wear 56. Let's get into the biggest losers and winners of the NFL draft. Because, Josh, I'll be honest with you. Depending on which way you look at it, I'll be honest, the Browns are both. This was the strangest, I will say it till the day I die. No matter how it works out, at the time when the draft ended on Saturday night, 7 o'clock, whatever time it was, this was the strangest draft from a football team I can ever remember in my life. First of all, they trade down from 2 to 5. They get the extra first-round pick from Jacksonville. Jacksonville moves up to get Travis Hunter. Okay, you know my feelings on Travis Hunter. I don't know how good he's going to be. If he turns out to be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase and you traded away a generational talent, so be it. I like Mason Graham as a player. I think he's going to be a very good player, including Travis Hunter. He was my second highest rated defensive player on the board, right behind Abdul Carter. I just didn't know if he was worth trading back for and picking up that player. He's got to be a multi-year pro right next to Myles Garrett for years to come for that to be worth it. The best part about that trade for me is they get the extra first-round pick for next year, which I thought they were going to use for ammo on a quarterback. I'll get to that in a minute. The second round picks. I know JOK is injured. I did a lot of homework on this draft. You know this over the last month. I've gone through, I've watched tape. I've done multiple mock drafts. I've done all my studying. I never heard of that Carson Swevenger kid, the white linebacker they drafted out of UCLA. Not necessarily in love with that pick. Me personally, I like Travion Henderson more than Quinyon Junkins, so I would have rather preferred them to take Henderson. But I absolutely loved the Dylan Sampson pick in the 4th round because I had him graded higher than Quinyon Junkins on my board. I also think that absolutely signals the end of the Nick Chubb era.
I was just sorry for cutting you off, but I was just going to jump in on that. It's interesting to me that the Browns not only took one running back in Quinyon Junkins, but 2 in Dylan Sampson.
They took 2 quarterbacks who, by the way, I've already said, I think Dylan Gabriel's a fucking bum. I think he's a bust. I think he's a smaller, poor man's version of Tua. I don't think he's going to work in the NFL at all. But they took 2 quarterbacks. They took 2 running backs. And nobody's talking about They didn't take one single offensive lineman. Like, how do you not at least take one offensive lineman? I know they just signed, what's his name, Deontay Johnson today. Whoopty freaking do. He quit on 2 teams last year. That was their upgraded receiver. They don't have a number 1 receiver, and they don't have an offensive lineman. If they're going to use those 2 first-round picks on those guys next year, maybe. But don't you usually use 2 first-round picks as ammo to go get a freaking quarterback? And yet here you are drafting 2 quarterbacks in a bad quarterback draft class. I don't get it, man.
I really don't. The Browns had one of the most confusing drafts I've ever seen. So right now I can't definitively say whether they're a winner or a loser. I understand what you are saying, though, by putting them into both categories. The team, I think.
Here's the thing. Can I clarify that real quick?
Yes.
If Sheduer is the quarterback, which, by the way, for the record, if Sheduer Sanders is as good of a quarterback as everybody mocked him to be, I'm on record right now. Sheduer Sanders should be the week 1 starter for the Cleveland Browns, because he should be better than Kenny Pickett. He will be better than Dylan Gabriel. And I'm sorry for all you Browns fans, like our man Fitz last week. That's when I flipped out on Fitz when he said, the vibes are back because we got Joe Flacco. You're talking about vibes? What are you trying to do? Win 4 games or trying to win the Super Bowl? Let me tell you when you can start talking about vibes. When you're 40-9 beating the ass of Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. That's when you start talking about vibes. So,
hey, Dad, what's a Super Bowl? I don't know, son. We're Browns fans.
Yeah, really. So if Sheduer Sanders is as good as the media says he was, he should be the starter week 1. And if he's as good as the Browns did by drafting him in the 5th round, that's a win. If he's a bust and Dylan Gabriel can't play, even if Mason Graham is a Hall of Famer, and even if Junkins and Dylan Sampson are really good, it will be a waste of a draft.
So, whether this was the owners like conspiring or acting in collusion against Sheduer Sanders, we didn't quite get into that, but I'll address it here. Maybe that's part of it that I don't think we really got into, to go back to the whole Sheduer stuff, is that perhaps it was more so that the owners kind of wanted to put Sheduer and Dion, for that matter, in their place. Because with Sheduer, it's cameras, paparazzi, social media, all this and that. And, of course, you're getting Dion. And the owners, I think, were trying to say, no, you don't run this. We do. And whether they're going to come out and say it or not, I wholeheartedly believe that was part of it. They were trying to, I don't want to say blackball Sheduer, but almost put him in his place. And if the Browns want to send a direct message, they won't put Sheduer as the starting quarterback week 1. They'll have him start later.
By the way, guys, this is insane to me. Did you see who has the best odds to start week 1 for the Browns?
No.
Kenny bleeping Pickett. I think that's insane. I personally, to be honest with you, and somebody, I think it was Joe Quad or Daniel Jeremiah, one of them on the NFL Network brought this up. You know what they should do? They should tell Joe Flacco, Joe, you know the system, you don't need any reps. You are going to be our backup quarterback. You want the young 3 kids, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Sheduer, battle it out for essentially QB1. And if I know the NFL just changed the hard knocks rules. I don't know if the Browns are eligible, but if they are, sign me up, because this is the only interesting preseason team in the NFL in the last decade.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I do think there's a chance the Browns could want to send that message and be like, yes, we took you in the 5th round, but we're not going to start you right away. You have to learn your lesson. But to go back to this, sorry for going off on that tangent there, but I felt like it needed to be said. One of my biggest winners Drake May,
I wholeheartedly agree.
If you do not get this right now, Drake May, I don't know what to tell you. The Patriots knocked this draft right out of the park. They got receivers. They got offensive line help. Which I told you they were going to go with the offensive lineman, 4th overall, Will Campbell. I told you that.
Yeah, I said that they were going to too. Once Abdul Carter was off the board, everybody knew it. The reason why I said they wouldn't go the offensive lineman is if Carter was still there.
Fair enough. But the Patriots, I gotta say they're the top winner of this draft. I have to. Some other honorable mentions I would put in there. I think Atlanta did a really solid job.
I disagree with that. What was that? Trading a first-round pick next year for James Pierce. I thought Atlanta had a horrible draft, to be honest with you. Yeah. And like Atlanta, they doubled down on pass rusher. Both those kids have to hit for their draft to be good. They have to. The Giants didn't have to give him a first-round pick to go get Jackson Dart. Atlanta gave him a first-round pick next year in a better draft for a pass rusher who some people thought could go in the 2nd round.
Atlanta, I think, felt the urgency. Okay, so Atlanta, not as much. What did you think about Tampa Bay? Because I think what they did spoke loudly about their concerns in terms of Chris Godwin.
Yeah,
they go out and draft Ibuka out of Ohio State. I think they're continuing to put pieces around Baker Mayfield, and they sense that they're not. I don't think they're going to loosen their grip on the NFC South. Although I do think they have a new challenger in the Carolina Panthers.
I love what the Panthers did. Ted McMillan, I love that pick.
That was one of the more surprising picks, I got to admit.
See, to be honest with you, it wasn't. Because I like Ted. I thought, between him and Tyler Warren, I thought that they were the 2 best pass catchers in this draft.
So just to go back to what I was saying last week, the reason I thought Carolina would go with Tyler Warren is because, like I said, go back and watch Penn State games this season. When Drew Aller was in trouble, he was like, "Where's Tyler Warren?" "Oh, there he is. First down." And I thought the same thing about Bryce Young, where...
Can I counter that, though? Bryce Young is a small quarterback. We all know that by NFL standards. Now he has 2 giant wide receivers, and Xavier Legette, whose comp was A.J. Brown going out of college at the same school of Ole Miss. And now Ted McMillan, whose comp is new Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf. So if you theoretically have A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf on either side, that's going to help a small quarterback see more outside the numbers than it is inside the numbers over the heads of those giant offensive linemen.
It just concerns me that, he doesn't have his security blanket where if he gets flushed out of the pocket and he needs to make a quick pass. That's not to diminish what Ted McMillan can do. I'm not trying to say it was a bad pick or anything like that. I just thought, that I'm not saying Bryce Young's going to become Patrick Mahomes, but just hear me out. When Patrick Mahomes has been in trouble, he's gone to Travis Kelce. Not trying to compare Tyler Warren to Travis Kelce. I'm just
I think he could be Travis Kelce. I love that value for the Colts at 14, by the way. Absolutely loved it.
Do you understand what I'm saying now?
I do, but I think Carolina, I would have gone with the receiver over the tight end there personally myself, because I thought there was more value in tight ends later on in this draft than there was receivers.
Okay, so we both agree New England and Carolina were winners in this draft. I'm not sure where to put the Houston Texans. Do they know there are other teams or other colleges to draft from besides Iowa State?
You know what? I liked it. I didn't mind those picks. They also got a lineman as well. there's a team that you have not mentioned yet that I'm surprised you haven't. I absolutely love as much the New England Patriots what Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears did. They said, you know what? Since 1985, all we've done is defense, defense, defense. And Ben Johnson said, fuck that. We're going tight end. We're going Luther Burden, who had a first-round grade on him in the second round, whose comp is DJ Moore. We're going offensive lineman in the third round. We are giving Caleb Williams all the support he needs. That was the theme to me of this draft. If you have a young quarterback, even Tennessee with Cam Ward, they gave him weapons, they gave him protection later on in the draft. Tennessee, New England, Chicago, supporting your young quarterback was a big theme of this draft.
Let's see. Grandizer says, I heard that the Arizona Cardinals got an A from one or two.
Oh, okay. No, actually, Grandizer, I agree with that. And here's why. I love their first two picks, Walter Nolan and Will Johnson. I thought they absolutely knocked it out of the park with those two picks because I think Jonathan Gannon is trying to rebuild what he had in Philly.
Yeah, he definitely is. I don't know if they got enough around Kyler though.
Well, they got Marvin Harrison, they got Trey McBride, they got Michael Wilson, who I really like as a tall, lengthy receiver.
I meant in terms of the offensive line because we've seen how Kyler likes to run around and he's gotten injured multiple times since he's come into the league.
Okay. Grandizer asked this. I don't know if you want to take this or if you want me to take it first about the Chargers and Raider draft.
Okay. With the Chargers, I was surprised they went running back in the first round. I did not see them being the team that took Hampton. I thought for sure Denver would do it. But in terms of the overall draft for the Chargers, I give it like a B-. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was terrible either. So I would go B-.
So they went out, they got Trey Ayers in the second round, the receiver out of Ole Miss. Then they went with a bunch of linemen. Jarek Ardwell, the defensive lineman out of Oregon, Ed Kennard out of South Carolina. They did get a tight end later in the draft, which that was a little bit of a surprise for me that they did not go with the tight end. Amarian Hampton, I thought was a very good player. They needed a running back because of the fact that Najee Harris was their only other running back on the roster. Gus Edwards is gone. J.K. Dobbins is still in free agency. So I don't mind that pick because Jim Harbaugh, we know how much he loves to run the football, and it was very much Charger-esque. I thought the Raiders had an A-plus draft. I thought the Raiders absolutely knocked it out of the park with not only Ashton Gentry, who is absolutely going to carry that offense under Pete Carroll, the ability to run the football there for the Raiders. But then they went out and they got Jack Beck, who's a wide receiver out of TCU, who is a transfer with LSU, as I mentioned, who played alongside Malik Neighbors, put up really good numbers there. Darian Porter, the defensive back, is a very physical defensive back. Then they went out, they upgraded their offensive line, in my opinion, with Caleb Rogers, the guard, Charles Grant, the tackle. So they, in my opinion, checked a lot of boxes. And between the AFC West and the AFC West and the NFC North, those two divisions are going to be absolutely insane.
Remind me, did the Raiders draft a quarterback at all?
They did not, no. So they're going with Geno, as far as I remember.
So that's interesting because, like, we know.
No, they did. I'm sorry, my bad. In the 6th round, they drafted Tommy Millen out of Montana State.
Oh, okay. It's interesting that a lot of these teams waited to draft a quarterback.
Well, not really, because this wasn't a quarterback year. I mean, even Philadelphia went quarterback. We picked up Kyle McCord as a backup to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking about it, like, outside of Arch Manning, who else is there really in next
And by
year's
the way, Arch Manning is not a sure thing to go in next year's draft, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's all this talk about how great this quarterback class is next year, and I don't think we know the answer to that right now. I do want to say this. There was only one, because I think it's really hard to blow the draft. Everybody's going to get good players. Everybody's going to get bad players. By the way, shout out to my Philadelphia Eagles, again, stealing Jod Campbell at number 31. Another Alabama defensive player. It's death taxes and the Eagles taking SEC defensive players.
They might as, you know how they have that word mark where it says Eagles? They might as well change the A to an Alabama logo and change the G to a Georgia logo.
I wanted to say, Josh, there was only one draft out of every 32 teams that I completely did not understand.
Wait, can I guess it? The Buffalo Bills.
You're in the same division.
The Jets?
No, the Dolphins. I did not understand the Dolphins draft at all. They drafted 4 defensive tackles when they had no secondary. They barely addressed the offensive line. There's thoughts that they could be moving off Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey. They didn't go get a corner to late in the draft. Like, they did not address, in my opinion, any of their needs. And they reached on their first 2 picks. They went out. Kenneth Grant is a late first-round pick, maybe even an early second-round pick. And then they traded up 15 spots. I get offensive linemen's important, but they traded up 15 spots in the second round for a guard I never heard of. So that I did not understand at all.
Yeah. Buffalo's draft was also confusing. I have to admit. Like, why are you drafting so many defensive players? Josh Allen needs to, throw the ball to people. And I understand Brandon going on the tangent that he did. You did hear about that, right?
Yeah, I did. And their philosophy, I think, is, listen, in order to beat Patrick Mahomes, we're going to have to stop him. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The Ravens were an interesting draft. They go with
their first 2 picks, they absolutely nailed.
Yes.
And that's all that matters to me. They got Starks, the safety out of Georgia, who I loved, and then Mike Green fell in the second round because apparently some sexual assault cases. I don't know. I think he's going to be a very productive player. When do the Ravens not have a good draft?
That part is true. What did you think of the Packers draft? Because for the first time since 2002, they drafted a wide receiver.
They did. But no, Grandizer. Grant was not great value at 13. Look it up. It was one of the worst picks in the first round. I completely disagree with you. Anyway, they drafted the wrong receiver, in my opinion. Golden is the same style as Reed, as Watson, as Dobbs. Very similar 5'11", quick, speedy guy. Good, not great hands. The kid they drafted, I forget his name here, the 6'4" kid that they drafted in the 3rd round, that's who they needed to go get. The Wildcat type receiver, Savion Williams out of TCU. That's the type of guy. They needed another game-changing pick to go out there to get more height, more speed. They didn't need all of the same receivers.
I don't even remember who the guard is.
Grandizer, there was only one real guard in this draft, and that was Tyler, the kid that Dallas got, who was a good pick, but yet Dallas needed receivers, and they didn't draft one, so who knows there.
What did you think of the Commanders draft? Because I kind of liked it.
I loved their second-round pick in Amos, the corner. I thought he should have gone in the first round, so I was mad at the first-round pick because I didn't understand taking a tackle there. Because to me, their offensive line could use an upgrade, yes, but I didn't think he was worth the value there. I thought they needed to get a defensive tackle or another defensive back.
I actually thought they should have drafted another running back. Because I know that you have Austin Eckler, and Brian Robinson there, but Austin Eckler is I would say more of a hybrid player. So you don't quite have that thunder and lightning. So I thought Washington would, in the later rounds of the draft, like rounds 4 to 7, would go with a running back.
All right. Well, you know what, Josh? I got to be honest. I think we've talked enough football. I got to say, is your hand still hovering over the panic button? Because the Cleveland Cavaliers annihilated the sorry, quitting, not even worth a playoff spot, 37-win regular season Mickey Mouse team, Miami Heat, the last 2 games, winning by 80, 90 points combined. They weren't even contest. Listen, the Heat gave the Cavs one good quarter because the Cavs ran out of gas and just started jacking up threes at the end of game 2. The Cavs were overall better in this series. They took care of business, and that old Heat culture, that's worth 6 games. No, it's not, because their best player is Bam Adebayo, who at best, in my opinion, on a championship team, is your 3rd best overall player. And once Jimmy Butler left that door, the Heat won 8 out of their last 10 games in the regular season. So what? They were never a matchup for this Cavaliers team. This Cavs team took care of business, and I predict here in about 2-ish hours, they will be getting prepared to face the Indiana Pacers in the second round of the playoffs.
All I can say is sweep you very much. Yes, I made that up today. And I don't care. I am trademarking that, damn it. But I'll tell you what. I am eating my words, because when I saw we were matching up with Miami, I told you this, Brandon. I said Miami was one of the teams I did not want to play.
You flat out said out of all the 4 playing teams, you're like, the one I don't want to play is Miami. And what did I say? The one team I do want to play is Miami.
So, I guess I bought more into the Heat culture than you, which looking back now, what is Heat culture? It's dead. Major changes need to be made in the offseason. I don't know. Pat Riley might need to step aside, honestly. I'm sorry, but it needs to be said. Pat Riley, I think, needs to step aside, because Heat culture is not a thing anymore. And there are going to be all the reports of, does Giannis want out of Milwaukee? Should he go to Miami? We'll get into that later. But you know what? I got to give credit, not to our main guys, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, even though Jared Allen, that was awesome last night.
Everybody who said the Cavs need to trade Jared Allen, he's a sissy, for a lack of a better term. I'm not going to use the derogatory term, but you know what I'm talking about after last year's playoffs. And who was the first one that said, no, you have to keep Jared Allen if this team's going to be a championship team? Me, because what you saw in this series, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, the defensive freaking player of the year, Evan Mobley. They are the best front court defense in the NBA that you cannot penetrate behind. And when Jared Allen is playing aggressive, when he's scoring, when Evan Mobley knocks down those outside jumpers, this Cavs team is borderline unbeatable.
So I'm not trying to discredit what any of them did, but I gotta give more credit to the reserves, because Sam Merrill played really well in this series, but Ty Jerome went absolutely nuclear in this series. Him and DeAndre Hunter, that is a deadly combo coming off the bench. So again, no disrespect to Evan Mobley or Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, but to me, the key in this series and the key the rest of the way against Indiana, hopefully Boston, I don't want to push our luck right now, and say Oklahoma City or whoever out of the West, it's going to be those reserves because you know that their opponents are going to try and take away Donovan Mitchell and or Darius Garland, and it's going to be up to guys like Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, DeAndre Hunter. If Jalen Tyson gets some minutes, which I believe he should, I've liked what I've seen out of
the way he's played more minutes than Isaac Okoro.
Yeah. I like I said, I just really like Jalen Tyson, what he's shown me in the limited minutes. But Isaac Okoro too, like it's gonna be those depth pieces that are gonna need to come through. So I fully believe that.
Josh, we are 45 minutes and 43 seconds into this show. I have had this take since about halftime of Saturday's Game 3, and I have not wanted to text you. I have not wanted to say it. I want to get your live reaction to it because I'm about to spill a take that you may or may not like. I don't care what the result of this season ends. I don't even care if the Cavs win the championship. I'm here to say it because I've seen it with my own two eyes for not only this playoff run, but for the last few years. In my opinion, at the end of this season, whenever it is, even if the Cavs win the championship, the Cavs should trade Darius Garland. The Cavs offense is better with Donovan Mitchell as a distributor at the point guard and a guy like a Max Strus, a Sam Merrill. I think a Desmond Bane would be like a perfect guy in this offense at the 2. Someone who's good defensively, can shoot the three. You're not putting much pressure on Mitchell because when did the Cavs struggle? Would have been in this series, specifically in the second half of Game 2. It's when Darius Garland is ball hogging the hell out of the ball, jacking up 30-footers and not connecting. I'm not saying Darius Garland's not valuable. Darius Garland's a really good player. Donovan Mitchell and him can play very well together in this Kenny Atkinson system. But this Cavs team can sometimes get into too much isolation ball with him on the court, and he is a defensive liability. And I don't know if it's just coincidence that they beat the hell out of the Heat even more without Garland, but that team I saw with Garland and without Garland, we're a better team without him.
That was the narrative when we had last season with JB Bickerstaff.
Like, scream at me all you want. If you hate it, I'll take it. I'm sticking to that take. I am more strong on that take now, and I know Fitz hates the take, and I'm probably going to get a call here whenever he listens to this, and me and him are going to have at it. But what I saw, I think Darius Garland, I think you could trade him. I think you can get more role players, and I think you can get even more bigger wings and let Mitchell be your point distributor when he is clearly at his best.
Excuse me. Like I said, that was the whole conversation last season with JB Bickerstaff. And we've seen this season, they've been able to work together. And I love the pick and roll of Garland and Allen and then Mitchell and Mobley. I love those two sets of pick and rolls. I might have it backwards, but you get what I'm saying. I'll say it like this. I disagree, but I understand what you're saying. The reason I disagree is because of what I've seen on the court when they've been together. They have been able to play off of each other. Though I understand that what you're saying about them going into isolation ball at times, it does make sense. But I feel like if you take one Garland off, Mitchell has had to be a little more ball dominant at times.
Well, has he? Because Jared Allen, Max Strus, and Evan Mobley, they are flying up and down the court. Mitchell hasn't even had to be that aggressive and score when Garland's not been out there.
That part is true. Mitchell's not having to do that at really when Garland is on the floor, though.
Yeah, but that's because Garland is, again, dribbling the hell out of the ball, and then Mitchell has to save him at the end of game 2. Because Garland becomes a ball hog, and he gets hurt, and he starts jacking up threes, and nobody can hit the side of the barn in the fourth quarter, which is the only reason why Miami made it a game, because what's-his-face, Highsmith couldn't miss from free.
Same with Tyler Hero. So I understand. It's I don't know. I want to say, I'm going to say it like this. I already said it. I understand, but I disagree. I'll say it like that.
I know you're heated about this, so I'm just going to let you go. Obviously, controversy in game 4 between these two teams.
Yes, I texted this to you guys, and I'm just going to read the exact text that I said. The NBA showed their preferential treatment in today's game 4 between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons, as that was most definitely a foul. But thankfully, the Minnesota Timberwolves were victorious against the Los Angeles Lakers. That means the T-Wolves are up 3-1 in the series. Hopefully, Minnesota can finish the job to take away part of the NBA's dream matchup narrative. Time to show the league that real basketball wins over rigged storylines. Now, here's the thing. Am I heated about it? Yes, because clearly, you haven't won a home playoff game since 2008. We don't care. We want New York in the second round. Sorry, NBA, but you're not getting the Lakers because they're not coming back to beat the Timberwolves. And you're going to get a second-round matchup of Cleveland, Indiana. I'm sorry, but you are. And I feel like if we get Cleveland, Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals, that's one of the NBA's worst nightmares. Granted, they would be the two best teams, but Cleveland and Oklahoma City are not big markets. They're small markets. And the NBA, they can deny it all they want. They even came out with the post-game report saying, a foul should have been called. No, duh.
By the way, they also did it to Luka, by the way, just to be fair. They did it to Luka, the James McDaniels play where Luka goes down and he trips and they call timeout. They said that should have been a foul too. The 2-minute report is bullshit.
Yes, the 2-minute report is bullshit because you're like, well, that doesn't change a fucking thing now, does it?
No. Now this is where I want to talk about this. So more so than the call, I have said the past few years, you've heard me say it, I think you're sick and tired of me saying it, but that the NBA regular season really doesn't matter. That it is, in essence, Mickey Mouse compared to the postseason. And you're seeing it even more this postseason because there have been less foul calls in the NBA this postseason than there have been the last 20 years. They are letting, and that is a fact, you can look it up, they are letting people play. They're letting the fighting go. They're letting the chippiness go. They're letting all the drives, the rim go. So, in essence, was it a foul? Probably. Though the NBA's been inconsistent in the way they've called that in the corner where the guy jumps into. I know they admitted it's a foul. In real time, I'll be honest with you, I was glad that they let it go. And I didn't care who won the game. I just want players to decide the game. I don't want refs to decide the game. That's always been my...
I agree with you on. I agree. Players should decide.
That's always been my stance on it. So unless he got tackled to the ground, I mean, you could clearly tell that he leaned into the contact a little bit to me and tried to draw the foul. So once you get tackled to the ground, like Luka did when he fell to the ground, which I thought, by the way, in real time was a good no call. I didn't have a problem with it, even though they said it was a foul on the 2-minute report. Like, I am in love with the physicality of these playoffs. I think it's great. The refs are swallowing the whistle. And at the end of the day, the Pistons could be up 3-1 in this series, but we all know that coaching is the biggest difference of running the series. That if it wasn't for J.B. Bickerstaff choking his brains out and Jalen Brunson being an incredible player down the stretch, this series could be the complete opposite. The Pistons are a nice story. Who cares? I mean, yeah, JB, you got John. You really did not deserve to win the game anyhow.
I mean, I'll give credit to Karl Anthony Towns. He made some big shots down the stretch.
He's been good in game 3 and game 4. When they get him going easily, he can be a very productive player. In game 2, when he doesn't get his touches early, he can really struggle. Like I told you the last 2 weeks, I know Orlando got a game on Boston. It happens. We both expect Boston to close out Orlando tonight. We both expect the Knicks to close out Detroit tonight. I don't know if this series between the Knicks and the Celtics goes to 6 games. I don't. I may give the Knicks 1 game, but I'm leaning towards a sweep because I don't think the Knicks can shoot with Boston at all.
So it's probably going to be us against the Pacers in the second round. I do think that series goes to a game 7. I know.
Wow.
I really do. Indiana has given us a lot of trouble this season, and they're going to be a tough team.
But again, so did Miami in the regular season, and look what happened. I mean, that's my takeaway. You know what the Pacers are, Josh? The Pacers are a poor man's version of us with less players and less skill quality players. I think the Cavs overall, if you look at that series, Mitchell, Mobley, maybe Halliburton's your third best player. And I think Jared Allen, Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, and maybe Garland are like mixed in as who could be the 4th or 5th best player on any given night. I think the Cavs are the better overall talented team. I think they're just better than Indiana. I think they'll be more physical than Indiana because all Indiana wants to do is shoot the 3. We will go inside on Indiana because even their big shoot a lot. That's the advantage the Cavs will have. I think it will be a tougher series than Miami. At worst, I think it goes 6. I think there is real potential. The Eastern Conference before the finals doesn't even see a game 6.
So right now, I guess we'll just get into this. Milwaukee is up by 10 against the Pacers in game 5, 42-32. With about 3.5 to go in the second quarter. By the way, best wishes to Damian Lillard. That's a tough injury. I don't know what to make of the Milwaukee Bucks, though. Even if they find a way to win tonight and force it back to Milwaukee for a game 6, I don't see them winning this series.
I know what to make of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Rebuild.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do with Damian Lillard. Maybe you can trade him after he's injured. They need to get rid of Doc Rivers. They need to trade Giannis. I think Houston's the likely landing spot for me. You get Jalen Green and maybe a Reed Shepard and a bunch of picks. And, yeah, this team is done. They are almost Denver Nuggets-esque, though Denver has better role players that haven't broken down the way Milwaukee players have. Milwaukee made a desperate attempt, which was one of our first shows at Championship Rings, if you remember, Josh, was Damian Lillard coming over from Portland to Milwaukee, and we both said, hey, Dame, Giannis, if they're healthy, they're a perennial championship contender. And, well, they weren't healthy. And now their roster is full of old, aging players. They don't have a lot of depth. Indiana's much younger, running up and down the court on them. As great as Giannis is, it's basically pretty much 1v5 out there. And in my opinion, to answer the question on the screen, this will be Giannis's last game in Milwaukee. If Giannis had any freaking balls at all, and I'm going to say it, to save his legacy, ask for a trade.
Yeah. The one way to go back to the Miami Heat discussion, what if he goes to Miami?
I don't think they're trading him in conference. I don't think this is a Luka situation. I think it will become very public if he wants out. And I think that Milwaukee will dictate where he goes. I don't know if he has a no trade clause or not, but I think Milwaukee will tell him. I would assume he does. He's Giannis. I would tell him we are not trading you in the conference.
But if he has a no trade clause, he can be the one that says, no, I don't want to go there.
Well, I'll give you any Western Conference team you want. Oklahoma City all the way down to Sacramento. Which team do you want?
He's not going to go to OKC. I don't think the Thunder would do that.
I'm just saying, Theo. Oh, wait a minute. You don't think the Thunder would do Jalen Williams and maybe shed homeroom for Giannis? I would.
Really?
Yes, I would.
Houston makes much more sense to me. Because Houston is getting punked right now against Golden State.
They are. We're about to get to that series.
Yeah. I don't. It's looking more and more. Actually, I'm just going to say it. It's not looking like that 2021 championship run for the Bucks. Total fluke.
I said it at the. I do. I said it was the weirdest finals. It was the Suns and the Bucks.
Yeah, like it was. The Eastern Conference Finals was Atlanta against Milwaukee.
And Milwaukee, yeah. That was the year where Ben Simmons refused to shoot. And Giannis was great in Game 6. Chris Middleton, by the way, won them Game 3. You remember that clutch shot? And that was the year coming off COVID where the finals was in July.
That's true. You're right. Yeah. So... There almost should be an asterisk next to that championship.
Well, it was a 72-game season. I mean, they were the best team. I think they were the 1 seed throughout the season, so I'm not going to say that. But it was a lightning in a bottle. Them and the 2019 Toronto Raptors are going to be 2 of the biggest one-off championships we'll ever see.
That I fully agree with.
And Denver could be heading in that direction, by the way. We'll see about Denver, but if they only win 1 championship with this current group, does that become a one-off?
It already feels like a one-off. They freaking fired their head coach.
Well, but they're at least tied 2-2 and fighting in a series with the Clippers. And many people think they're a good team.
That was one of the craziest endings I have ever seen.
I agree with you, and I think no matter what, that series is going 7.
Yeah, that series is going to a Game 7. It can't end in Game 6. No way. These 2 teams are way too evenly matched. But to answer the question on the screen, Milwaukee's up 10 right now. Last I checked, 45-35. I would assume Giannis is the leading scorer for the Bucks. Well, now it's 46-39. I stand corrected.
Okay, so they're up 7.
Yes. Giannis right now, he has 8. AJ Green is actually the leading scorer for the Bucks with 12.
Would not have thought that.
Bobby Portis with 7. Gary Trent Jr. with 8. Kevin Porter Jr. with 2. Jericho Sims has 2 points. Brooke Lopez has 2. And Kyle Kuzma has 5.
All right, let's get into this Rockets-Golden State series because the Rockets are the 2 seed. The Warriors are the 7, though Golden State was favored in the series. I picked Golden State to win the series in 6. The funny thing is, we'll get into this Rockets-T-Wolves series in a second. I feel like the Lakers T-Wolves. I feel like these series should be very similar to where Golden State and the Lakers are the veteran teams. Houston and Minnesota are the young teams, even though Houston did get to the Western Conference Finals last year. I suppose that's the difference. Yeah, why am I getting these 2 series confused? It's been a long night here on Championship Rings. Bottom line is the Rockets, who are playing the Warriors, are too young. I had a flashback to the 2019 NBA Finals last night when Fred VanVleet got paid off that Finals and was going absolutely crazy and trying to carry his way the Rockets to win Game 4. But the dagger was in them when they didn't win the last night, especially. How about Draymond Green? Up to Draymond Green things again, right? Poking the bear and Şengün. but they didn't win game 3 when Golden State didn't have Jimmy Butler. That was a real detriment to them because at least they could have been tied 2-2 here going back to Houston. I think they'll get game 5. I absolutely think a lot like game 2, they'll blow Golden State out in game 5. And then in game 6, the Warriors will probably win a close one at the Chase Center.
Yeah. The Warrior, if it is Warriors Timberwolves in the second round, that's going to be a really fun series. And as of right now, I don't know who I would favor in that matchup.
I would favor Minnesota in that series because they're a lot younger. And like I said, they do have the experience that Houston did not have. And I don't know if Golden State could stop Anthony Edwards in that series. Great as Jimmy Butler is, Jimmy's been hurt. He's been inconsistent. And a lot like the Lakers, their detriment to the series is they don't have a big. Neither does Golden State, really.
Yeah, but don't underestimate Draymond Green because Draymond's defense at the end of that game,
fantastic,
especially against Şengün. Draymond's one of the greatest defensive players I have ever seen. I'm not saying he is.
Draymond is an anomaly. He's the one player in this league where you're like, he's an all-star and he scores 4 points a game.
Yep. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, no problem.
And Draymond Green is the perfect warrior. He is perfect for that system. If he played anywhere else, Lakers, Thunder, Cavs, even though I love him on the Cavs for his antics, Celtics, I don't think he would be this good. I don't. I think he is the perfect warrior. He is perfect with Steph. He does all of the dirty work for them. He'll even bring the ball up occasionally. He's just an annoying pest who will get in your ear. And I don't know if you saw this last night. It looks like even the trash talk was rubbing off Jimmy Butler because he called Fred VanVleet a BITCH at the free throw line. The Warriors, like the funny thing is, right, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. When they got off to that hot start, you thought it was sustainable. I thought they would pull back. They actually pulled back. Then they get Jimmy Butler, and all of a sudden they go from one of the worst teams in the league, barely making the play-in tournament, to they're a legit threat here. And some people were even predicting them before the playoffs started to make a Western Conference Finals appearance.
I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being them against Golden State. Or I'm sorry, them against Oklahoma City. But I got to tell you what, if it ends up being Golden State, Minnesota, Steph versus Ant-Man, oh, come on. That is must-see TV.
This is the one series that I admittedly think I might have gotten wrong. Anthony
a lot
Edwards.
Of people probably got this one wrong. I did not have the Timberwolves going up 3-1. But I'll tell you what. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Ant-Man is on a mission. Do you remember how Ant was talking all that smack to Kevin Durant during their first-round series against Phoenix last year?
Yes, I do.
He's doing it again against LeBron and the man who eliminated him in the Western Conference Finals last year, Luka. Ant-Man is going to work. But the guy who I think is being the difference maker in this series, a lot of people are going to say Jaden McDaniels because of his defense and what he's doing. I'm actually going with the guy who was traded to Minnesota for Karl Anthony Towns, Julius Randle. Like, he is going right at the undersized Lakers. He is parking his butt down low. He is driving to the basket. He's pulling up for the mid-range shot. I think Julius Randle has made the difference for the Timberwolves in this series. Not to discredit what Ant-Man has done, because he's been awesome. But Julius Randle, for me, has been the key.
Well, I agree that Julius Randle, who typically folds in the playoffs, probably played the best playoff series of his life. Josh, for the second straight year, these damn Minnesota Timberwolves are trying to ruin my Western Conference pick for the NBA Finals, and these damn Minnesota Timberwolves are doing it by one guy off the bench who is consistently screwing me, and his name is Naz Reid. Are you fucking kidding me? Here we go again with this guy just casually knocking down 5, 6, 7 threes a game. Like it doesn't matter. Oh, who cares? Let me just shoot these wide open guys. Let me just run guys off the 3-point line. Let me just make the big steal at the end of the game. Like Naz Reid has been that glue guy that has done everything for the T-Wolves along with Jaden Daniels. So I think Naz Reid at a bigger level. And if you would have told me that Anthony Edwards, who I thought going into it was the third best player in the series, well, if he becomes the best player in the series, that's how the T-Wolves win, and that's what has happened. I am not shocked by the fact that LeBron is playing his ass off at age 40, 45 minutes a game, making defensive plays, steals, and blocks like he's 30 years old. What I am most shocked at so far in this series is I thought going into this postseason, Luka was going to be on a mission to prove everybody in Dallas, including Nico Harrison, wrong about trading him. And Luka has been, for me, very disappointing in this series because he has disappeared at times, especially late down the stretch. LeBron is 40 years old, putting up 30 points and 38 in game 3 in playoff games. I am not going to put any of this on LeBron James. He should not have to do this at 40 years old, what he's doing, playing at a level of age 30 right now. There's a reason why they got Luka, for him to be the guy on the offensive end of the floor. And when the Lakers have been great this year, I know they're undersized, but they have at times played great defense this year. And at times when Austin Reeves gotten going, they've been very good and borderline on some boards a third score. And Luka and Austin Reeves on the offensive end have not shown up. And really nobody besides LeBron has showed up on the defensive end.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't make any substitutions the entire second half.
Because J.J. Redick is saying, I don't trust any guys on the bench. I mean, that's what he is saying. He's saying, I trust 5 guys. And I'll say this. I think they get through game 5. I think game 6 is going to be a war in Minnesota. And maybe it's just, I want to stick to my guns and say Lakers in 7 because I think the Lakers can still do this. I don't think they're dead by any means. Though I think if they do win game 6, be very wary of a game 7 because of what Minnesota did to Denver last year in game 7 and game 1 of this very series in LA. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're dead. Maybe again, it's art overhead. I don't want to see LeBron and the Lakers go home early. As great as Minnesota is, I don't know if this Minnesota run is a little bit of a Mickey Mouse run if they got a good matchup and they don't necessarily match up well with an Oklahoma City, though I think they do match up well with Golden State. Like, I don't know. Like, I really want to see LeBron against Steph. I think that's our Magic versus Larry. And so I'm just holding out hope, I guess.
I personally really want to see Anthony Edwards against Steph Curry. To me, that is, like I said, that is must-see TV. That's the matchup I would rather see. So I'm hoping Minnesota and Golden State close out their respective series on the road in Game 5, which I can see both.
Here's the thing, though. Here's why I'm still hanging out a little bit of hope for the Lakers, is in my opinion, they could be up 3-1 right now. They blew Game 3, and they blew Game 4. Especially Game 4. Game 4 they had and they let it go, which maybe that's, a bow tie, put a wrap on it. They don't have a chance to come back. But I think 11 or 10 of these 16 quarters in this series, the Lakers have outplayed Minnesota. And I think Minnesota has just been the better closing team down the stretch. I don't know if they're overall the better team. I think that they are deeper, and Anthony Edwards has outplayed Luka, especially late down the stretch.
So I'm looking right now. The Lakers are listed as a 5.5 point 5.5-point favorite tomorrow in Game 5 back in LA.
Here's the problem for the Lakers.
Okay.
They are lucky they got 2 days off. And maybe that went into JJ Redick's decision, which don't get me started on the NBA giving these guys 2 days off in the first round. I think it's absolute baloney and bullshit coddling, in my opinion. I don't like it at all. But you get 2 days off between Sunday and Wednesday for Game 5. But then, if they do win Game 5 and they win Game 6 on Friday and they win Game 7 on Sunday, they will then play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday. You get where I'm going here?
Boy.
They will play every other day unless they wrap up a series early against Golden State, which I don't see. I think it would last to 6 or 7 games. They would play essentially every other day until the NBA Finals. And I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. We've seen LeBron come back from a 3-1 deficit before.
But that was when he was 32, 33, not 40. And again, I put zero blame of this series on LeBron. Call me a homer, call me a LeBron lover. I don't care. I think if a guy's doing this at age 40, he should be built a statue because we've never seen anybody do this. They got Luka because LeBron tried to make Anthony Davis the number 1 guy for 5 years, and AD didn't want to do it.
That's true. I think we all did we put? I gotta ask you this: did we put too much expectations on the Lakers right away? Because
I think the thing is, I always said it was about matchups, and I thought, silly me, I thought Minnesota was the best first round matchup they could have had.
See, I actually thought that Minnesota was one of the worst first round matchups they could have gotten because of that size that the Timberwolves have with Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. Did I like the Luka trade for the Lakers? Absolutely. But I think their season kind of hit their ceiling when they nixed the Mark Williams trade with the Charlotte Hornets.
And they know that they need a big, but the funny thing is, when LeBron is playing the center, like as I said, at times in the regular season, when they went on that stretch to get them here in the 3 seed, Josh, they were statistically the best defense in basketball.
Yes, I understand that. But look at how Dallas got to the NBA Finals last year.
You're right. I know. Daniel Gafford, what's his face? Lively, the other big, PJ Tucker, or
PJ Washington.
PJ Washington, yeah. I was thinking of the old guy from the Houston Rockets. I'm all mixed up on my names tonight. I've been fired up tonight. Those role players, along with Kyrie Irving, I get it. But also,
the Lakers don't have that type of big man.
They don't, but Luka was also special last year and throughout a lot of those games to get Dallas over the hump. What's his special moment this postseason? He don't have one. And by the way, I hate to be this guy because, yes, it was the right call, and they went to replay to get the right call, and I get it. Probably was a foul. But in real time, I'm talking about the end of the game when LeBron slaps his hand down on Anthony Edwards. Did you think that was a foul? Because Ed didn't even think that was a foul. He was complaining that the ball went out of bounds off LeBron. He thought it, not him. And then they used some Hawkeye sky cam no one ever heard of to overturn the call.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
I'm not saying that that's why the Lakers lost the game, but all I'm saying is if we're going to bitch about the Pistons and we're going to bitch about LeBron not getting the call, then we also need to bitch about Luka not getting the call that they came out on. We can't have a double standard. And so for all these people that are complaining about the physicality and, oh, my God, the Pistons got screwed and, oh, my God, the Lakers got screwed. Like, again, I'm all for letting the players play. Let's let players decide. And let's not let free throws at the end of a basketball game decide who moves on in playoff series.
So I'm half with you, half not. I'll say it like that. I love that the players they're allowing the players to decide the games themselves. and I love the physicality of it. Don't get me wrong. It feels like we're kind of going back to the early 2000s or late 90s type of basketball.
By the way, real quick, did you see the statistics on points per game in these playoffs versus the regular season?
I did not.
In totality, so this is a total score between two teams. Total score points are down 18 points from the regular season.
Okay.
The interesting thing is the 3-point shots on average in an NBA game, there's an average of 75, so about 36, 37-ish for each team. They're only down to 71. So the 3-point shots are still going up about the same amount, maybe just a hair less. Points per game are down significantly, in my opinion.
Okay. By the way, quick score update. It is 47-41 Bucks at halftime.
So Indiana's making a little bit of a comeback. We'll see if they get that second home choose. I'm actually rooting for Milwaukee to win the game tonight. Give Indiana a little more of a challenge. Maybe be more beat up for our series.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, I'm with you on that part. But at the same time, like, I hate that the Pistons did not get the call in Game 4 because you want to give your fans a good product where it's not every series is 3-1, 3-1, 3-1.
Well, can I respond two ways to that? Number one is I think we all kind of predicted the East to be like that, 3-1, 3-1, whatever the case may be. The other thing is we wouldn't have known it was a foul if they didn't release the stupid 2-minute report. Just don't release the report. It makes it so worse when you go, yeah, that definitely was a foul. Instead of I would love it if you left it up to us and debate it. Well, could it have been a foul? Could it have not been? Because everybody's definition of a foul technically is different. There's nothing in the NBA rule book that specifically says in this action, this is a foul, because different plays mean different things.
That part is true. But in terms of Lakers Timberwolves, I want Minnesota to win this series, partially because I want to see Steph versus Anthony Edwards, like I've said, but also because it takes away part of that dream narrative that the NBA so desperately wants.
That I disagree with you, because I've always said I don't think the NFL rigs games. I don't think the NBA rigs games. I think the NBA, to be honest with you, the one thing I have not liked about these playoffs is when they do call fouls, they have been the wrong fouls. If you're going to let them play, let them play. That's my biggest problem with the NBA officiating is they either let them play and then, they're getting too physical, so now we're going to call every book. Watch a Denver Nuggets game. Jokic is going to hit like this 6 different times down low. They don't call crap. All of a sudden, a guy from the Clippers, just as an example, whoever you want to name, a Norman Powell, will go to the basket, get in, and they'll call a foul. Like, the double standard to me is ridiculous.
That part I agree with. I don't know what to tell you with these NBA playoffs. I really don't.
I've enjoyed them. And by the way, did you see ESPN's on pace to break their record for NBA playoff viewership? So what I'm telling you is there was all this talk about the NBA regular season and whether it was access and whatnot. People just don't give a damn about the regular season because the NBA has not made people care about the regular season, because this is a different sport, like I've been saying all year since October.
And it's proving that way in the Stanley Cup playoffs too, because a lot of those series have been really good.
And with that, folks, we got to wrap it up for tonight's championship rings. We hope we'll be back here next Tuesday. We don't know yet for sure, though, because of obviously Cavs Pacers game 1. Well, we know for sure if that series somehow gets to a game 7, game 1 would be on Tuesday. Game 2 could theoretically be on Tuesday if Indiana wraps it up early. So we'll see on that. Josh, we went 124 minutes. It does not feel like it tonight.
No, it doesn't. Grandizer, we appreciate you commenting. Sorry we went away from all the Dolphins talk. We had a lot to get into tonight. I appreciate your comments about Donovan Jackson and some of the others. but we'll get to that. And we will see you hopefully next week.